Do you know, I was sabotaging my own paintings and I had no clue that the culprit was the shadows in my paintings. Mine were grey, boring, flat, and honestly at times totally neglected. Hi, I'm Dr. Shazia, your art buddy. And if you love art tips, painting demos, and brutally honest art supply reviews, then welcome to Conversations with Canvas, your space for all that art musty. It's letter S in the Alphabet Still Life Paint Challenge, and I thought it would be fun to tackle something which has always been neglected shadows. They are either dull grey or sometimes really weird. And this reference was perfect to understand all about shadows. Instead of jumping right into painting these juicy orange slices, I'm going to be talking about shadows for a second. Because if you got this, your painting game is going to instantly level up. Now, every object, no matter how large, small, simple, or complex, it reacts to light in a very specific way. For instance, let's take a sphere or a ball. An opaque ball is going to react differently than a glass marble. To make this circle now look like a 3D opaque sphere, all I need is to add in the light and the dark areas which are going to define its form and make it look like a sphere. The area below the circumference receives no light and that becomes the shadow area, and this is the darkest area on the sphere and it's known as the core shadow area. The shadow of a sphere is always going to be a flattened ellipse, and the area just below the sphere is going to be the darkest, and this is known as the occlusion shadow, and this shadow will lighten as it moves away from the sphere. Highlight is the area where the light directly hits the sphere. Now a transparent sphere will definitely respond to light in a different manner than how this opaque sphere is responding to it. And I'll share that in a moment. But before that, let me tell you about these travel-friendly pencils that I'm using. These are the Faber-Castell water-soluble graphite pencils. Now they are super fun because not only can you sketch with them, but add in a little water and bam! Instantly your sketch transforms into a painting. I'll drop in the Amazon link and the full review in the description if you also want to play with them. The circle now looks like a ball as I've added in the highlights, the midtones, the dramatic core shadow, the heavy occlusion shadow, and let's not forget that sneaky little reflected light. Now if you miss any of these, your objects will instantly lose its 3D form. So the next time you're painting something opaque, observe these shadows, add them in your painting, and automatically your painting is going to look wow. What if the object is transparent now instead of being opaque? Now that is a completely different ball game. The opaque one just sat there blocking the light, but this transparent one actually plays with light. The light is going to travel through it, it will scatter around it, and guess what? The shadows are going to be shifting. And the most interesting part, even the cast shadow has its share of reflected light. Once you see this, you just cannot unsee this. A glass of water, a marble, and even an ice cube, they are all going to behave in the same manner. So the next time you're painting something transparent like a glass of water or a fruit jelly, remember how light plays with it. Observe it and add this magic into your paintings. With the basics of shadows covered, it's now time to really spice things up with colors. Getting back to today's painting, I've already toned the surface with a juicy neon pink. And if you want to know all about the toning secrets that I have and why neon pink is my current favorite, I've got a short video on toning hacks where I spill the beans on what colors you could use for underpaintings and how they affect your final paintings. I'll share the link so you can watch it after this one. Now stick with me till the end because today the shadows are not going to be boring, dull, grays or really weird, but they're going to be way more glamorous than that. I've already painted in that dark bowl and now my attention is on the juicy citrus slices, and here's where the real trick comes in. The first thing that I need to think about while painting shadows is the chroma that I use, or the saturation or the intensity of the color. Now to create a difference between the light areas and the shadow areas of the orange slices, I'm toning down the saturation of the core shadow by mixing in muted greens and oranges. So how do I mute a color? Well, basically I'm just lowering its chroma so that it gets a little moody and it slips beautifully into the shadows without screaming for attention. Now you could mute a color by adding black into it, or a neutral color like it could be Payne's grey or burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre. But my favorite way is to add its complementary color. So if I want to mix a muted orange, I'll add just a teeny weeny bit of its complementary, that is blue, to mute that orange. For the areas which are in light, I'm going in for full drama, bright, vibrant chromas, practically screaming, look at me. Now this contrast of muted shadows and really bold light colors is what I feel makes the painting pop. Because if everything, that is even the light areas and the shadow areas of the same bright, vibrant hue, your eyes would just get confused as to where to look. And if everything was muted, the painting would definitely look very dull and boring. The core shadows of the orange slices are done, and as I'm laying down the background, it's time to shift focus to the cast shadow. And here I feel temperature comes into play. Stick around as I decide whether to warm up or cool down these cast shadows. To make these orange warm slices glow even more, I'm not going to be doubling down with a warm cast shadow. Instead, you can see I'm pulling in cool blues and cool violets for the cast shadows. The oranges are already bright and spitting fire, so by dropping in cooler shadows right next to them, the warmth pops even more because of the temperature contrast that is created out here. Now, tip number 3 is don't ignore the edges. Now, shadows are storytellers and they are actually having a conversation with the viewer. A hard edge screams that there is a single bright spotlight, whereas a soft, blurry edge whispers that the light is diffused. So, don't ignore these because these are going to be letting your viewer know whether there was a strong spotlight or whether the light is diffused, which is usually the case. Now here I have mixed in both soft as well as hard edges to suggest a gentle yet a glowing light over the subjects. And that's a wrap up on shadows. So the next time you're painting shadows, do pay attention to the chroma, the temperature, and don't forget the edges. Next up is letter T in the alphabet still life paint challenge, and I have something super fun with a clock ticking in the background. And don't miss out on the Saturday live paint party. It's the perfect chance to ask a lot of questions or just sit back with some popcorn and watch the chaos unfold. Until next time, take care, keep creating, and I'll see you soon for more art magic on Conversations with Canvas. Bye.